Hey everyone, Dr. Frunkey here with a great new knife consult for you on the Spyderco Rescue 3. This is a unique knife to the channel, very unusual for my sort of uses, but this comes to me by way of my good buddy Nico. Go ahead and check him out on Instagram at today'sgrail_tomorrow's_beater. He has a lot of uses for knives. He has a bunch of different sort of areas that he uses them, and this is a purpose-built knife and will come in handy for the right uses. And so I wanted to talk about this. One thing I love about Spyderco is that they make a very, very broad range of knives. They don't make one knife, they don't make one type of knife, they make all different types of blades and specialty cutting tools that can be used in a broad range of uses, and this is a brilliant example of that. This is not an EDC style knife. I really like to have EDC knives in my collection because I like to carry them, but it's also good to have specialty cutting tools if you have a specific task that you will need. Now clearly this is a specialty knife. This is not a standard blade shape or anything like that. It's fully serrated. So you can imagine this will be for people that need something like a mini saw, something for cutting cloth, cutting organic things like small branches or things like that. This will come in handy for all those kinds of things with those nice serrations. So why don't we go ahead and get some overall specs so we can see what we're working with here. This is the Spyderco Rescue 3, so that's indicated by the fact that it's got a 3.25-inch overall cutting length. There is a smaller one that I think has a much shorter cutting length. It's called the Rescue, and then there's a slightly longer one that's got a bit of straight edge at the end of it. That's about 4 inches in overall length. That's called the Rescue Assist. So if you're interested in this knife, know that there are 3 versions of this, and you can look at those online. The handle is about 4 3/4 inches in overall length. The grip area with that forward choil is up to 5 inches, so you're going to get a nice secure grip. If there's one thing that Spyderco does well, it's their ergonomics. So for my friends who use the metric system, we're looking at about an 85mm cutting length. We've got about a 90mm blade overall. And let's see, about 125 millimeters of grip area and 120 millimeters of overall handle length. It's a nice slim knife, as most Spydercos are. It's 0.44 inches in terms of the overall width. The blade stock is 0.115, so that's very thin. So it's a nice profile for cutting. So speaking of cutting, let's go ahead and look at the blade. We talked about we've got about a 3.5-inch blade with 3.2 inches of effective cutting length of a fully serrated VG-10 blade. So this is made in Seki City in Japan. So they're going to use a nice Japanese steel. VG-10 is a nice steel. It's not going to be the highest quality steel out there, but it's certainly more than enough for what this knife is intended for. This has full serrations. You want a steel that is tough, that can be easy to service later on, because these are going to be very aggressively used. So the VG-10 is nice stainless steel from Japan. It's ground as a flat grind. It comes up about maybe only a third of the full width of the blade there. So again, that harkens to the specialty nature of this blade. It really isn't meant for slicing. This is clearly meant for sawing and those types of cutting tasks through organic tissue, not tissue, but I mean like branches and cloth and like fibers and things like that. This will work beautifully for that. It's called Rescue. It's going to be intended for EMS and first responders. This might also work well for me as a physician in the hospital. Sometimes one of my uses for knives is actually removing gowns and removing clothing sometimes, so this might be useful in that setting. It's got a Warncliffe style blade, a nice ramp there. You could call it a sheep's foot perhaps because of how rounded that is. It's got a nice strong tip. The blade stock stays thick all the way out, and then it's nice and rounded. There are no really sharp edges here. This has a little chamfer on it. This finish is done in a nice satin finish, beautifully done over there in the Japanese factory. It's got a large Spidey hole for opening, and I'm not sure if it runs on washers. Sometimes these do, sometimes they don't. I did not take this knife apart, but it's got your standard sort of Delica-like action or your Endura type action. This is like an Endura maybe handle with this kind of a blade on it, this sheep's foot serrated blade. So it's nice. It's really nice. So speaking of which, the like I said, the pivot is not the smoothest knife. This is really not going to be a knife that you're going to be able to run around and spider flick all the time. Now, it may smooth out a little bit over time, and you can probably loosen it a little bit to make it happen, but it's a function of the back lock. It's really meant to be purposefully deployed, very securely locked up, and then very carefully put away, and it's really almost a two-handed knife for closing. So bear that in mind. Again, that takes away from that EDC and moves it more into that specialty category where it's got a strong lockup and you have to purposefully engage it. So moving back to the handle, we have their pretty famous FRN style handles here with the multi-directional grips. I really enjoy this. It is very nice in the hand, and honestly it looks better in person than you might think. It's got a lot of complex sort of patterns going on there, and it's really nice looking. It's lightweight. Go ahead and bust out the scale here and see what it looks like on here. So we're looking at 3.73 ounces. That certainly is a very lightweight and makes for a nice carry. There are some skeletonized liners on the inside of the knife there, which is pretty nice. It adds to it a nice element of strength. And again, I mentioned the back lock. This is a very strong locking mechanism, but it is a little bit old-fashioned and not quite as fun, but that's okay. Again, a purpose-built blade right here. It's got Spyderco's famous clip. It works beautifully. I like that it's black on this. It just makes it look nice, ties it into the overall package aesthetically. So how does this thing carry? It carries very nicely. I really carried this only a couple of times, again, because of its specialty nature, but as you would expect from any Spyderco, the clip is absolutely magical, and the ergonomics are spectacular. So you have that forward finger choil, your fingers rest here, and my large hand has a very good grip. I can even hold all the way back here if I was going to be doing some sort of back and forth cutting. And this grip, which I think is a grip that you might use frequently with this one, is also very comfortable. Any type of position you can think of on this is going to be very nice. Spyderco knows what they're doing. That clip is not a hot spot by any means. And this will work well if you're wearing gloves. A lot of first responders, firemen, and others have to wear gloves in their duties, and it will be easy to deploy this with that large Spidey hole right there. Overall, this is a really nice knife. If you have a need for a specialty blade like this one, take a look at the Rescue series from Spyderco. Super nice quality here. I think this is coming in somewhere around $100 retail. I'll have to look at that. I'll put a link down below to where you can buy it. But it's a super nice knife, purpose-built, so keep that in mind. And thanks to Nico for sending this one through. What do you guys think of this knife? What's your favorite type of rescue or EMS blade? Do you have a suggestion? Maybe I could do that in another video. Thanks for checking this out. Go ahead and click like and subscribe to my channel right here. Go follow me on Instagram at Dr. Frunkey. And as always, guys, this is Dr. Frunkey saying take care.